Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Dear Lord, we may not be able to remember your name, form, and qualities due to stumbling, hunger, falling down, yawning, or being in a miserable disease condition at the time of death, when there is a high fever. We therefore pray unto you, O Lord, for you are very affectionate to your devotees. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities, which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful lives. Purport. The real success in life is Ante Narayana Smriti. Remembering the holy name, attributes, activities, and form of the Lord at the time of death. Although we may be engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the temple, material conditions are so tough and inevitable that we may forget the Lord at the time of death due to a diseased condition or mental derangement. Therefore, we should pray to the Lord to be able to remember His lotus feet without fail at the time of death, when we are in such a precarious condition. In this regard, one may also see Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 2nd chapter, text 9 and 10, and text 14 and 15. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Jnanat Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachanam pangum dangaite girim yatripa tamamam vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. These are the sincere prayers of the devotees. The assistants of Maharaj Nabi involved in this yagya, by their expert, focused execution of the yagya, the Supreme Lord was pleased to appear. Of course, it is emphasized that it was not due to their technical abilities or their one-pointed performance of yagya, but it was due to the affection that the Lord had for his devotee Maharaj Nabi. When the Lord had appeared, his darshan inspired the prayers, heartfelt prayers of these brahmanas. And we are hearing today a prayer which should become one of our prayers, if we can adopt this prayer. That the whole goal of our Krishna consciousness practice, Prabhupada writes, real success in life is Ante Narayana Smriti. To remember Narayan at the end of life. The Bhagavad Gita also echoes the same message. Someone may ask, why such a focus on death at the end of life? Well, for one, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken at a battlefield. So the war is there, and in war, chances are many will meet death. And Arjuna was also worried. First, he's worried about killing friends, killing relatives, even killing superiors. Krishna wants to focus his mind on the goal of his life, which is to act in Krishna consciousness, to act for the benefit of Krishna. And so in the 8th chapter, zooms in on what should be the consciousness at the end of life. Same word there, ante at the end here, antanarana smriti there, antakale chamameva smaran mukta kalevaram. Ya prayati samadbhavam yati astri nastya samsaya. Krishna says, whoever remembers me when he quits his body, certainly you will come to me without fail. Of this there is no doubt. It kind of always bothered me, this concept that, so is it that our whole life we may be practicing Krishna consciousness, and just as these devotees are expressing here, that we may not be able to remember Krishna at that last point of life. Here they're saying, due to stumbling, you may just lose your path on these steep hills of Switzerland, mountains, and that's it, Kangamai, boom. While you're still trying to deal with that, oh, I'm falling, finished. Hunger. Falling down is actually listed exactly there, falling down. Yawning. It seems that some people just have a last yawn. While you're dealing with that, that's it. Or being in a miserable disease condition at the time of death. So disease is not fun, not nice. Pain, suffering. We see some of the Vaishnavas, they don't want to be taken into the hospitals. Because the hospital, to help you with the pain, they'll stick some morphine into your system and some heavy painkillers, which may knock you out of consciousness. So they want to focus at that time. So it was always sort of a thing that it just doesn't seem fair. That everything, and then if you just miss the train, sometimes you took all the right buses, you flew from far, and then you just miss that one important connection, the whole thing collapses. Well, Prabhupada explains in the purport of that 8th chapter that for one who has practiced remembering the Supreme Lord throughout life, the Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure, and only those who have come to that standard of purity can be able to remember him, because there's that other side also. Others read that and think, oh, okay, it's about that time when I'm leaving the body. So for now, let me do what I want to do. I know the Maha Mantra, I've heard of Krishna. If death comes, then I'll just try to remember Krishna and I would have solved the problem. So Prabhupada is saying like that no, Baba, it won't work like that. So the importance of the time of death is that the time of death is an assessment of the values that one has cultivated in life, of the attachments that we have cultivated in life. When there's difficulty, we tend to try and take shelter of something or someone. We have the internet, and it is always serving many things. One such service of the internet was people crashing. So people have all these dash cams, and especially these work trucks. The owners want to see what the employees are up to. So they install cameras in the vehicle. So the man was driving, and somehow or the other somebody cut him off, and he realized, he didn't have pretty language about it. And next thing, the truck was falling, collapsed. It crashed to the side. And you can hear the man screaming, "Mama! Mama!" About 3 times he's calling his mother. Yeah, and I was thinking, yes, Antakale Chamameva. He needs shelter. And what is his attachment? So this attachment is your intelligence. What have you ascertained to be the most important thing? Your mind means your emotions. What do you feel is the most important? And so at the time of death, it's not just a matter of, like here we hear, remembering. Like if you are asked what is the capital of Uzbekistan, and you want to make sure that you remember. Do you know?
Tashkent.
Sure. More fire. Tashkent, yes. So it wouldn't be just like that you just want to remember. But this remembrance is all the faculties. How you've used your body, how you've cultivated your emotions, how you've used your intelligence to set up a value system and emotional attachment. So that will move in a certain direction when there's difficulty. Like this man, it went to mama. We see that when people are locked up, unsure of their fate, afraid, then they tend to get into the fetal position. When you need security, you get back to the womb. Sort of, that is really imprinted in the muscle memory of the living being, some shelter. That even in wars, even men who are atheistic, when the bullets are ringing past, yes, they call out for God or they call out for mama. Everyone needs shelter. So the concern of the devotee is that I live in trying to serve you, my Lord, and my cultivation has been to remember, to glorify your name, your form, your pastimes. But death is such a challenge that will I be able to remember you at that crucial point? Padma Purana says the condition at death is so much pain as though one is being stung by 40,000 scorpions at the same time. Now, if you want to make a point that there's pain, they really made the point. One scorpion is just like 440, maybe 400, 4,000, 40,000. So don't take it for granted, basically. We should not think that death is just piece of cake. You know, people talk about he left peacefully. So, okay, yeah. It's possible, maybe. You have a doubt? It's possible to live peacefully? What do you think?
Because some people would really describe it differently.
Mm.
Maybe it's different according to your common.
That's one point. Some people died and described it. There's this query people say like that. Who died and came back to tell us what's on the other side? If they came back, they didn't die. Yes, Babu?
The common opinion is that some people deserve to die sleeping.
Mm.
This is the whole
Peaceful.
Peaceful, possible. It's like perfection.
In his sleep.
Peace. But me personally, I don't believe it very much. who knows what that person was experiencing, really. But
underneath.
his consciousness at that moment when his soul was leaving out the body, we don't know.
So we have to get some knowledge from those in charge of the Department of Death. There is the Superintendent of Death, Yamaraj. He has a whole team of people who deal with helping those who need to get out of the body. Prabhupada speaks of getting kicked out of this material body. That generally the living entity is attached to his housing, his apartment that you're living in. So two situations are there. One is attached, they don't want to leave. Another is that the pain is so unbearable that others are begging, please just take me out of my misery. I think Switzerland is a very merciful country. They have some provision that if you want to end it, then I'm sure there's some conditions you have to fulfill. Then they have some facility. Recently there was another inventor who created like some sort of pod where he says his pod is like it's quicker. There's like a viewing window, family and friends can come and see, and so the old system was protesting his new invention. No, we've been assisting people to leave their bodies here for a long time. It's been good. What's this now? You're coming in. But he's coming with something that looks fancy, so he may corner the market because it's not free also. So anyway, the underlying motive is to help that person to deal with the pain at the end of life. So, okay, maybe nobody could witness what turmoil was going on in the consciousness. The last they saw is that you were sleeping and now you are no longer in the body. The Prabhujis who come to get you, that describe that they look very scary, like a shining black. They got hair like the bristles of a brush. Their faces are contorted, eyes red with anger. They have nooses and they can catch the soul. And it's like, chalo. So it's that in the hospitals, the nurses, they tell some of these stories. They can tell also when somebody is nearing the end, that some people start to get hysterical and they talk about people in the room and they're trying to get me, help me, can't you see? And the nurses, okay, they know this one is on their way out. There's no one there, according to them, but this person is freaked out. They are called the Yamadutas. So they have to come and get you to take you to the next body. And if someone has been sinful, the path to the next body and the preparation is also not at all very nice. So fifth canto enters into that vivid description. So much for, sometimes spirituality is like all of a sudden you can just shed this old idea of hell. There is no heaven or hell, It's all made up, society made this. Yes, it is documented. Hellish planets are there. But this is not our leading message as Vaishnavas. We don't go out there describing the hellish planets for people. Because we're not trying to use fear. But the truth is necessary. One needs to come to the mode of goodness and understand reality. Because ignorance is never bliss. It seems like it is. But really, if you understood the consequences of some activity, like, one of these hellish planets, there's these trees that have got very sharp leaves. It's like basically blades. And then you are just stressed by the directions. And there's dogs that are chasing you. And so it's either the dogs are going to like, go in there, or you try to escape and then the trees are just slicing you. And now these bodies, they are given such that you go through the pain, but you don't die.
That's like a bad dream.
Yeah. So now, try to reconcile that with a merciful God. So we put ourselves in, if I was God, come on, I wouldn't be that bad. People, they make these calculations. So a complete picture of reality is necessary. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is so wonderful with that there's all 9 cantos to understand the many aspects of what we call reality in this material world. And understanding God in his different features, all the way to understanding the personality of Godhead. And more than anything, what is his mission with this material universe? That it's a correctional facility. And if it's a correctional facility, then there is necessarily some conditions that have to be fulfilled for someone to get out of jail. You have to serve your time, yes, but if you want early parole, then there's something else you need to do. This is the good behavior or the demonstrating some transformation that you are ready to integrate with the world outside the prison. So for the devotees, we want to be reinstated in the spiritual world, where there's none of these conditions of dogs and that are trying to eat you and whatever else is going on, either on hellish planets, on Earth planet, or on the higher planet systems. So the way to transform one's consciousness and to align with the Lord is this devotional service. And this devotional service is headed by the hearing and chanting and remembering the Lord. Please help us remember you and utter your holy names, attributes, and activities, which can dispel all the reactions of our sinful lives. So first of all, if one doesn't accept that they're actually getting the justice deserved by their previous activities, will they come to a point of trying to rectify? What are these steps of recovery, even for addicts? Part of it is acknowledging there's a problem. There are people, everyone can see, look, you are like a druggie. You're just, no, I can quit anytime. And everyone is saying, no, you need help. And they become upset with whoever assesses the situation like this. Why are you judging me like this? You've always thought you're better than me. So many things. So if the problem is not acknowledged and one accepts, then the road to correcting the behavior or actually coming out of that drug addiction will never take place. accept, and then take the steps. So we want to be free to do what we want, and we don't want the consequences of our actions in that so-called freedom. But the way is that we have to surrender that freedom to actually gain real freedom, like the drug addict. He surrenders his freedom to the rehab. The rehab, they lock you up, they've got a whole regimen there for you. So the more he surrenders that freedom, then they can help the person and then again release them free to rejoin society. The purport at the end points us to Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 9th text, 10, 14, and 15. There is a discussion of namabhas, sanketyam, parihasyam va, vasadam stobam, helanam. That even those who chant the name jokingly for entertainment, referring to something else, even broken the syllables, they still, that shadow name is able to deliver them from so many sins. 9 and 10, if you could find it. It's like such a wholesale thing that those who are practicing also, we can be a little envious. Just like this idea that, and it's proven in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, that whoever becomes like a pure devotee, then like generations of your family members going forward and backwards can be liberated. Something like up to 21 generations. So the envious wretch that I am, a little better now, but back then I just thought like they were giving me hell for joining. They don't want me to take part. And then I have to kind of forgo the life that I had, and I'm following this austerities, mangalati and all of that. And if I continue to practice, and then even the relatives I never met are just going to be given mercy and liberated. And I was thinking, this is not fair. Come on. Why should I be the sacrificial lamb?
So,
Yes, Prabhu.
what about their karma? Those who get liberated because of someone 7 generations before or after you?
Yes, you can also feel that pinch, no?
No, I'm just curious because
I'm just okay. It's okay.
karma isn't working, or in that case it's not applying to them, or how is that?
Yes, very good question.
Just curious.
Yeah. So this is more attesting to Krishna's nature. That Krishna is so grateful to his pure devotee and so affectionate to his pure devotee that in benedicting his pure devotee, that's not enough. He's feeling so many people have contributed to this, my devotee, being in this family, being raised in whatever way, that if I'm splashing you with like palm full of water, it may catch you. But all of a sudden I want to pour the whole ocean on you. This Krishna's mercy. Then the ocean will flood the whole of Europe. So Krishna's mercy and gratitude and love for his pure devotee, such that he wants to benedict any and everything connected to his devotee. So anyway, also showing that he's got nothing against us, Krishna. Like he doesn't really, it's not like, all of you are going to pay for all your sinful karma, that he's just there, relishing that got you. Like you heard the pastime of Vasudev, that he's praying out of compassion. So much sinful activities people have performed, and they are suffering in this material world, my dear Lord, if you find any piety in me, any good qualities, then you give all their sinful reactions to me, and you deliver them, and I'll stay in this material world and suffer that karma. So this is just a devotee can feel like this. And Mahaprabhu was smiling that Vasudev died. I mean, you think this is like some big gesture. Well, it is. But from the point of view of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is this universe? It's like one mustard seed. If you have a bag of mustard seeds, do you even look at one mustard seed for more than a nanosecond? It's just one of so many. I can empty it out, no problem, deliver them. It's not a big deal. You would think also the Lord would, no, these people have been sinful. You can't just deliver all of them like this. No, this is cheating, or, he's trying to keep everyone. No problem. If you want this, what you want, tatast. What do you think, Simon? He doesn't like it. You don't like it. Sounds fair. Sounds okay. Anyway, this is, yes.
I guess part of the question is, like, maybe my uncle, he doesn't want to be Krishna conscious, that he has free choice to listen from God, having a Krishna conscious, and that mercy waves kind of splashed him, but maybe that's not. How is the free will affected?
Yes, Krishna has that ability. He is the autonomous autocrat. See, every living being desires Krishna, desires freedom, love, and all that is there in his intrinsic nature as a soul. It's just owing to their ignorance that they think they don't want. So actually, like the parent, the child may not want to go to school. So if the parent is like, okay, he's a free guy, he should decide what he wants to do, and you keep letting the fellow sleep, then you have to deal with like an uneducated, probably criminal, drug-addicted child. So if there's some way to inspire him to go and study, the parent is ready to try anything to get him to go. And even to the point of just the pull off the covers, ring bells, splash some water. So if Krishna will offend our tiny free will, I never wanted this. As soon as you get the mercy, immediately you are, yes, Jai Haribol. Look at Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. What was he doing? Simply by the kirtan process. I give the example is given of the fisherman. So the fisherman, you think he was trying to attain Krishna prema? No, he's trying to feed his family. Next thing, his net, it's got something heavy. He's thinking, today I caught a big fish. And he pulls the net and he touches this, and all of a sudden, he's chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. His hairs are standing on end, and he thought that this must have been some like ghostly haunted Brahmana or something that I've touched. So, I mean, he's still getting violated, you could say, in his free will. He wants to continue his life as a fisher. Man, all of a sudden, there's this thing that has taken him over. But what can Mahaprabhu do? By nature, is ecstatic like that. If you get in touch with him, sorry. Like all of us here. Did you really plan out the hairstyle, the sitting on the floor, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling? Something maybe we thought, a better life would be like this and like that. But most of what now we accept as our normal life is just as a result of that book that I read, some people sometimes feel like that. Why did I take that book? Other people say, in South Africa, they say, "Uthanda izinto," means like you like things too much. So some people just saw the Harinam. Because of liking things, I went to them and then, thinking I'm having some type of fun. Look at me now. So such a personality is the personality of Godhead, that He will give His mercy even to those who don't want it. Panchatattva did that, right? They were chanting, relishing. People wanted to come in, they barred everyone. People would make up stories what was going on in there, just to discredit them. But later on, they opened the doors to Shiva's Angam. And it said, then they flooded the world with love of God. And people were running away, trying to escape the flood. And imagine it's the Hindus who reported Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan movement to the Muslim Chankazi. These days, there's all this Hindu-Muslim hate. But you find that the enemy of Hinduism tends to be Hindus themselves. At least the enemy of Chaitanya Gaudiya Vaishnavism were the other Hindus there. They deal with this Nimai and his chanting, they are disturbing our sleep. And so people would be running, but they would catch them and drown them further. Prabhu, you had something?
Yes, one example comes from recent class of Indigenous family,
Sure.
who spent quite a long time in Paris, standing in the streets, in certain corners, and it just so happened that Prabhupada was there in Paris, and Guru Maharaj with his group went out for Harinam Sankirtan. They were chanting, and this lady was in front of them. And for 20 minutes, she stuck her point fingers in her ears and stuck her tongue out and closed her eyes. It was like this for 20 minutes in front of the Harinam group. And when Harinam group, this Guru Maharaj, they came back to the temple, and the person Prabhupada reporting the activities, Prabhupada said, he was listening to the report, and then he said, he asked him, so what you do? What did you do? In a very grave mood, he asked him. And Indra Maharaj says he was he lost himself. He did not know what to answer because he did nothing to Prabhupada. He just kept chanting. And Prabhupada asked again, so what did you do? He didn't know what to answer. And Prabhupada said, you have to come to her, take her fingers out of her ears, and chant to the right ear, Krishna mantra. That was looks like forcing, but Prabhupada's mercy has no limits, he's delivered the mercy of Panchatattva and Krishna.
The Swiss are already freaking out. Oh, breaking the laws. Oh.
Some people just cannot tolerate it, but we should keep on chanting.
And interesting enough, Prabhu, with that story, you try it. We have earplugs. It seems that we're blocking our ears from outside. But what happens, we create some nice sort of, I don't know what to call it, a vacuum where the sound gets more concentrated. Even the people who are here, Harinam is coming, and then they try to close, they tend to hear the name even much more clearly. So it's almost 20 minutes of pure hearing, because you're focusing on isolating that particular thing, but that's just, how much of it can you really put out? And with this, though, to your example, the horses, for example, we're not, pushing some. The horses, they don't want to have their hooves shoed. But then they have to grab them, and knock the thing out and help and put the new thing to protect for their welfare. They don't want it, the people at the hospital, they punch the doctors sometimes in anger, but the doctor has to give injection to help the fellow. So in one sense, the Sankirtan movement is definitely violating the desires of the conditioned souls. They don't want this liberation. They want to enjoy. And the whole modus operandi is that give them some sort of mercy. And it's designed such that, because the ears are always sitting there, so they hear every and anything. So just get the name of Krishna somehow or the other into their ears. Yes. So I'll make this one, and then, yeah. So just to consolidate everything here, that the holy name contains the pastimes, the form, the abode of the Lord, Nam, Rupa, Guna, and Lila. And so it is the most important and efficacious way to remember Krishna at the time of death. Therefore, even in that purport 8.5 and 8.6, 8.5 has the holy name twice, full mantra Prabhupada writes. One must incessantly, constantly chant. And it is said like that, Padma Purana also, Smatavya Satatam Vishnu Vismatavyo Najatuchit Savevidi Nisedasyu Etayo Eva Kinkara. That one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. And all the rules and regulations of the scriptures should be servants to this one injunction. Therefore, it is our primary duty, even the instructions of the spiritual master, of all the instructions, the main instruction is to chant the minimum of 16 rounds daily. And also that with attention and affection and avoiding the offenses. This is what will create the consciousness that at time of death, even though there's so many disturbances, like Kulasheka, King Kulasheka speaks about that, let me die now, my Lord, while I'm strong and stout, while my mind is still clear. Let my mind, which is like a swan, the swans they like to enjoy in the lotus stems, stick their head in there. Let my mind now, while it's clear, enter into the lotus of remembering you. Because at the time of death, kapha, vata, pitta, all these elements will cause choking up of the throat. We mentioned the pain of being kicked out. So he's so eager to perfect life that let me die while I can remember. Now, So the holy name, the holy name, the holy name alone is the key to remembering Krishna, purification of heart, and the rest of it. Yes, Mataji.
I was just thinking about when you were speaking about young Buddhas. I just hold that in. Yeah. So when you were speaking about young Buddhas, that when people are dying in the hospital leaving their body, and they see all the young Buddhas and people going about it, something like that happened in my family actually. My grandma, maybe like 11 years ago or something, she passed away. But just before she was passing away, like 1 week before, let's say 2 weeks before, she was seeing all different kinds of auspicious signs. And we were still very young then, but because my parents are also devotees, so we knew that, okay, all of this stuff. So she even mentioned that she woke up like 2 in the night in the morning. And my cousin, she was staying next to our house with another uncle, and my cousin, she was staying next to her room. And my cousin told us that the next morning that grandma woke up in the night around 2 o'clock, and she's saying she was so scared, and she said, "I saw, look, who is this man on the wood?" She said, And then the following days, she kept on seeing, auspicious signs. And then at one point, she also said that I saw, look at these women, they are crying outside my room. And my cousin, she was only 10 years old, and she was really scared. And she went out outside the room to check who's there, and there was no one. And my grandma, she kept on saying things like that. But for me, it was very surprising. Two things were surprising. I mean, after 2 weeks, she passed away. Yeah? But for me, something was really surprising was that she was following four regulated principles. She was a very good mother and a very changed wife for a person. But she never even did any demigod worship, let alone worship Krishna. And we have a temple next to our house, literally, and she never went there. All her life she did, but she never went there. And then I was two things that kind of made me think about. One thing is that just following four regulated principles is not actually enough, because I was hearing one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada. He says that following four regulated principles doesn't actually make you a devotee, but it actually just elevates you to the human platform. It's a basic principle for any human being. And then second thing I was wondering about is that she said that she saw some women. So that thing always was in my mind, because when we read Bhagavatam, it always describes about the Yamadutas. I have not read anywhere about the ladies in the hellish planet. So maybe you know about this Dhammas.com. There is a website, and there was an article posted on that. It was a story about a devotee whose father was passing away, and his father, when he was passing away, his father was convulsing to activities and all that stuff. And then when he was passing away, he was also seeing really scary things like Yamadutas, yeah. And then he mentions in that article that his father saw ladies also, really scary ladies. And then it kind of, immediately made me think of my grandma. And then this devotee was also surprised by this. And then he did some research, and he read maybe different shastras or something. And then he found that in Yamloka, Yamaraj also has like families. They also have ladies, like wives and children. That was something for me. I just
Yeah, no, we appreciate it.
So it's a family business.
Yes, yes, yes. Devotees, just interesting looking devotees. Wow, yeah. I mean, there are many stories like this. Time is, it's trying to respect the local customs. Yes, there are many stories. Even I had one person who inspired me. Okay. I said, should I tell?
Yeah.
Okay. Life comes from person. So just when I'd met the devotees, I was in some situationship, and one Hindu lady met me with this one lady friend. And she saw we had bead bags, so we were had started chanting. Oh, how do you know about these things? So we mentioned, no, we met them in Pretoria where we were studying. And then she looked at us and said, oh, you have very good light. If you stay with this is very good. You will do very well. This is good for you, or whatever. And then she said to the lady, you you have like a cloud over you, But if you stay with him, everything will be okay. And then she told about her son who had been in an accident. So the car, flipped out of the road, and he was shot out of the car, seatbelt not on. And he was falling. He felt he was falling into this hole that just wasn't ending. And because they're raised Hindu, at some point he was thinking maybe he should call someone, one of the gods that he knew. He tried to chant something. and then the fall was broken. But then he started seeing what later on, when I moved to the temple, I could understand. It described, blackish, shining like, these trash bags, she was telling me. They were very ugly, and they were trying to pull him out of his body. And he was so afraid. But then at the last moment, they told him that you're getting just one more chance to get your life together. And so he came back and to consciousness somewhere. Paramedics were waking him up. And he told the aunt, he says, that's when she became serious about this. So she was saying to me that don't ever doubt this thing about that there's hell, there's an afterlife, this is true. And there's a people who come to punish you. So you just stay on this path. And I was just like, wow, this lady, so much information just came to tell us for free. And part of it was, I thought definitely I must join the temple. And I told, her, like, look, she saw some heavy clouds around you. You definitely also have to join, But inside me, I also thought I don't need clouds in my life, I must just stay with the devotees. Yamadutas, there is a reality past this body. It's not just earth planet. And so by hearing Bhagavatam, we can consider afterlife, what's next, and we can do the right thing, stay with Krishna. And as Krishna is ecstatic, then the future is ecstatic. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanande. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripas Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo